Hi, this is Allison Moe. I did a facilitation opportunity with my team in downtown Chicago. We are in different locations now, and so we really talked about the challenges of being in different locations as well as the opportunities and how technology influences those. Hope you enjoy it. All right. Okay, so I want to talk about the opportunities. So we are in Northbrook, predominantly in Northbrook. Now Chicago, but River Point too, going to Arizona. Potentially we could have offices in Charlotte and Dallas as well. We haven't really pursued that yet, but that is definitely a possibility. And even if we don't, organization is going to have locations there. ATSV primarily in Dallas. I think marketing is going to go to Charlotte. You know, we're opening up like 2,000 spots in Charlotte, right? We could move there too. So first, foremost, what are the biggest opportunities of having all those different locations, and then conversely, what are the biggest challenges in having those conversations? And by the way, I'm going to take notes because this is actually so relevant to our work.
I think one of the biggest opportunities is probably the ability to attract and retain talent from more geographical different areas. For example, if there's someone in Arizona or the Southwest who doesn't want to leave, then we'll be able to attract that talent better by being geographically diverse.
Do you think it's happened here? Do we know if it's happened here with having Chicago as a location? Like,
as far as retaining, we have much better retention after opening the downtown office.
So we've actually done metrics on it? Or we just think so?
It takes long, a while for retention information to develop, but I'm pretty sure that.
I don't know if Laura Miller and Lindsay Han, if that team has done any like solid metrics. I guess I haven't heard of that specifically, but I do feel like anecdotally, or it seems like to me that we've retained better since we've opened the Chicago office. And I do think that there are people that we brought in that maybe wouldn't have considered or wanted to do the drive out to Northbrook. Maybe they're in, the western suburbs or, more southern suburbs of Chicago, and that would be a long drive, but Chicago is much more convenient.
Does that come up when do you guys interview? Do you all interview?
Yeah, and I've definitely heard some people say that they haven't explicitly candidly said that they will only accept a Chicago office since they're on an interview, but it definitely appeared that way to me.
Yeah, so you might have interviewed people that you could tell they were very interested in the Chicago office, especially given where they were already living.
Do we know anything on Arizona yet, or too early?
I have interviewed someone that is now going to be working in the Arizona office. I don't know if that person would have considered coming to Chicago or not, but I do think that is like currently was more based in Arizona, so that might have played into his decision. I don't know.
Okay. What about challenges?
Well, it seems we always have some technology issues, so for instance, yesterday during the peer review, after 5 minutes of attempts, we still weren't able to connect videos between the rooms, and we were able to work out the phone call eventually, but at the same time, it's still, it eats up a lot of our own time during our meetings to have to deal with that, and then we also don't get the benefits of being able to see people in meetings.
So that's probably my biggest issue is, when we talk about communication, still they say nonverbal is like 65 to 90% of. How are you guys making up for that? You guys probably even more so, right? You never see us as I'm sarcastic and obnoxious in home office.
Video conferencing is one way, but given the technology issues that we've had, at least recently, it's made it more difficult to keep using video conference because it hasn't worked.
I think the multiple maybe 2 video conferences is like relatively easy to set up, but as you try to do like 3 video conferences and someone else calling in remotely, and then we'll add like Arizona or something like that, like it just gets more complex trying to make it all work together.
Have we had conversations? Is it Skype? Is it the new Skype that's challenging?
I've
Because
also
when
had
we do the
issues with that, but I think that's kind of two bigger issues, not exactly.
Have you guys used the telepresence room up on F9? Have you ever been part of it?
We've used that
Yeah, a couple
once
of
or twice, yeah.
Because there it seems to work great every time, but it's not same technology as Skype. Have you had issues there?
I haven't had it.
Because that feels like you're almost in the room.
It does. It feels like people are sitting across the table from you. But again, I think was only like a 2 location thing. Like I think we maybe used it with mark here.
Yeah.
I did it with 4 the other day,
Oh,
which was pretty good.
Cool.
We had our,
I think the Skype is good for like 2 people if you're like just want to see them and talk real quick. But when you do meetings in Skype, then if you're there's a bunch of little videos or whatever, it gets hard to see. And then the people on the phone, like you're just less engaged than when you're in person. So I think it like totally works for small group settings or like if you're having one-on-ones. But teleconferences in general for meetings, I don't think are as effective as in person.
why, Nicole? I agree.
Because I think everybody on the computer just naturally is not as engaged. Like you see an email pop up and then you start answering this email and then you're like, oh shoot, I'm supposed to be paying attention to this meeting. It's also harder to interject. Like sometimes the people in the room sort of maybe forget that there's people on the phone, and so you're like trying to say something, but it's really hard to know like when you're cutting someone off versus when to jump in and say something.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think sometimes people just don't want to on the phone interject because they're afraid they're interrupting a conversation. And then
Right.
here I've seen the challenge. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I noticed it with Travis. He never wanted to disturb the people around him. So like when he was on our conference calls, he was quiet because he didn't want to disturb the people around him, which means now I'm not getting the benefit of Travis, which is concerning.
Yeah, try and book a room. If I know there's a meeting that I'm probably gonna talk more at, I'll try and book a room to avoid that.
Do you have enough rooms down here?
At River Point it's easier, but here it's again especially difficult lately to get a room.
Yeah, I usually try to book a room, especially if it's like a one-on-one or something with Skype, because I don't want to disturb the people around me. But sometimes if it gets moved last second, it is a little difficult to find a room on the last day in the Mart here, so that is another challenge.
Or like when we had the Florida meetings, when you guys have it in your office out in Northbrook, like we'll try and book a room down here so that we can feel like we're not disrupting everyone around us.
Good. All right, so the biggest one, if we were to have a team change and we brought someone in new, whether it's River Point, Mart, Northbrook, or Arizona, what are the most important things we need to do to get them engaged in the conversation, engaged in the team environment? Like, you know everyone. What are you gonna do the day you don't get someone you know and they're in Arizona?
I don't.
Oh, look, I'm stressing her out.
I do think it's nice to at least have an opportunity to meet someone face to face at least once. I know if you're in Arizona and we're in, Chicago, obviously it's not as easy as like, oh, we're gonna spend Friday, in the Arizona office, but maybe making at least one trip one way or the other so that you can at least put a face with a name. I feel like that's helpful to at least kind of know who I'm talking to on the other end of the phone and having at least met people in person once.
Did they increase the travel budget for us with the Arizona office?
I don't know. I don't know what the.
Something needed to be
Absolutely.
there.
What's the plan of how many people they're planning to bring into the Arizona office?
So it's a little confusing, I think, at this time, Nicole, because they're still working on where our second hub or talent center will be officially. We have decided to go to Arizona because the Esurance office is there and there's some space that they have available for us. So what'd you guys get, 10 or 20 spots?
I thought I wanted to say like 15 was like the initial number.
Yeah, 20 to start out.
But then the future is that we might not stay in that specific office, right? And so it could get bigger, yeah.
I think the final goal they said was 1/3 for Northbrook, Chicago base, but that'd be way down the line.
So if you had a new team member, how would you guys engage them besides just the manager, besides just Ashley? Do you two talk?
Yeah. Mostly through like emails and Skype and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Since we do all work in different offices, it is harder to get those face-to-face meetings, but I'd say that we probably have enough interactions despite being in 3 different offices to feel comfortable with each other in team settings.
We always usually try to swing by each other if we happen to be in the other office for something else. Like if Derek's here, he'll swing by my desk. If I'm in Northbrook, I'll say hi to Derek. So just kind of a little bit of face-to-face interaction when it's possible.
So how do you decide when it's IM, text, email, phone call, in person?
I'd say for me, if it's, so it pretty much just depends on the, like if it's a really quick request, I'll just shoot Michael and IM. If something's, maybe not specifically with either of you, except if something's more, more detailed or more urgent,
Keep going.
I'll start a phone call with someone just so sometimes it's easier just to call someone.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, this makes me sound old, but sometimes I like picking up the phone and just calling. It's just easier. You can kind of, especially if what you're talking about is not just like a, hey, can you have this done by, noon or once it's coming, it's not like a quick thing. If it's something that's maybe more in depth. It used to be you could just swing by someone's desk and say, like, let's have a conversation, but if we're in like different locations, sometimes I'm like, hey, can I just give IIM and say, can I just give you a quick call?
It is a lot of quick.
Even like between Michael and I, like, we were both at the Mart, and then when I moved over to River Point, it used to be, something that I just stopped by his desk, has kind of moved to IM. Or we do phone calls, but not as frequently, and I do try and come back here like once a week in person for like a one-on-one, and if he has questions, then we can kind of address them then, but that's just because the offices are so close, whereas if they were further apart, probably wouldn't have that.
So still very heavily reliant on face-to-face and getting to know each other, and then having the confidence that IM, text, phone works after that. So it sounds like we do still need to figure out what we're going to do when we have the Arizona office and how much they interact with our teams, or because the other alternative, right, would be have the Arizona team be a team and handle Southwest or Northwest.
Yeah.
But then you start limiting yourself on rotation options.
Even like at River Point, like, I think it's okay, because I've already been here for a while and I know a lot of people, but if I had started like brand new into River Point, because there's so few people there, I feel like it would be completely different than if I hadn't already been here for a while and then moved there.
All right, thanks.
And Mesa might be more similar to River Point.
I think it's
in terms
even
of
worse.
people, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, at least we have some experienced people going out there, but even Blazing and Terry are not pricing per se. All right, so it sounds like we have work to do in Arizona. I'm gonna turn that off. So I had 4 people with me, and I had one on the phone, which really provided the opportunity to see some of the challenges. I was culprit in not always calling out Nicole to make sure that she was getting her voice heard because she was on the phone, which is some of the challenges of not being in the room and the obstacles we face as we're in different areas. It was a great discussion. We did cut it off after 10 minutes, given that it was an 8 to 10 minute deal. And just so you know, we turned off the camera, but the conversation went on for another 20 minutes, and it was really great discussion. Thank you.